Your San Francisco 49ers are not done yet. John Lynch spoke and we listened. Here is everything that you need to know about what's up and about where we're going. If you're new here, hit subscribe if you're looking for daily 49ers content. It does help me out. I'm trying to hit 10K. Going to do a giveaway, so make sure you're subscribed for that. But interesting Matt Barrows article in The Athletic. I have to give a shout out to Matt Barrows, of course, and say you should go check out the article yourself. It is behind a paywall, so I can't show everything in the article. I don't want to do that, but I would encourage you to go check it out for The Athletic. It is an interesting article in whole. I really want to keep the focus kind of centered. Matt Barrows kind of talks about a bunch of different things that John Lynch said, and John Lynch was asked about a variety of topics. I'm kind of keeping it focused on like what's going on and what are we doing, where are we going, that kind of mindset. So it's going to be kind of framed that way. But let's start with the first quote here from John Lynch himself talking about the 2025 NFL draft. As you can see here, we have 4 picks in the top 100, 6 picks in the first 4 rounds. So there you go. We've got this thing called the draft, and we've got a lot of picks. The 49ers general manager said during Stanford's Pro Day, his first public comments since free agency began. And I think the thing the fans should know is we have a plan, and we're going to execute that plan, and we're excited about the opportunity. Okay, it's a little bit of GM speak. I'll admit that's totally fair to say, but rest assured, because the 49ers fans that I follow, at least in my sphere on social media and stuff, just appear to me to really be on huge ends of the spectrum, like either completely freaking out or overcompensating and like everything's great, everything's fine, our team is perfect, the cap space is perfect, everything's great. And I think we're somewhere in between there is the honest truth, right? For the majority of fans, that we're not 100% comfortable with everything that's happened, and we're not 100% completely down in the dumps about things. At least I'm not. Let me know in the comments if you feel differently. But the first thing I want to focus on is John Lynch has a plan. I love this phrase here. We're going to execute that plan, and we're excited about the opportunity. So I'm excited to see what that means as it gets flushed out, both in the remaining few weeks before the draft and the draft itself. That's going to be interesting. Another thing that he said that is super interesting. The bottom line is you're always looking at years out from now, and we forecast it, and we've got some big things coming our way. You have to clear the requisite room to be able to do that. And you don't want to get to a point where you have to do things to keep your roster afloat. You want to have that flexibility, which I think is a roundabout way of explaining why so many guys were on their way out, why so many guys had to leave, and how the 49ers are thinking long-term, and so they're really banking everything on this draft and the next draft. There's something about this that's actually really genius, though. When you have a good draft, there's this old idea that that any team who has 2 consecutive good drafts could be a Super Bowl contending team. That's obviously not good enough. Like you can't just say that, obviously. But the idea is that if you have a good team or a decent team and you can start to draft well and have 2 consecutive drafts, you're a playoff team. You have a shot to go to the playoffs or shot to go to the Super Bowl. The idea there is kind of cool, and it does paint a little bit of a picture of the 49ers perhaps looking back and seeing how good of a draft they had last year, realize that they have a huge, massive opportunity here with the number of draft picks they have this season. Plus, we're supposed to have a bunch of draft picks next season as well. You could put 3 drafts back to back, and all of a sudden, you're looking at a team that other people are like, man, how did they build that? So there's a reality there, okay? Now, the more likely scenario has to do with Jed York, what he's not willing to do again this season, and what happened there. John Lynch also talked about that. He said this: last year we had such a good roster, I think we doubled down and said, let's go for this thing. And we kind of pushed all the chips in, knowing that at some point you're going to have that reset. And this was the year. So guys like Leonard Floyd and Malik, believe me, their impact was felt. They were great. It was nothing they did wrong. We just felt it was the time to do it, and we are excited about what we can add and replenish. Fascinating there. Now, no general manager. Well, John Lynch. I won't speak about no general manager. And I will say Devondre Campbell's an exception to what I'm about to say here. But John Lynch is not going to go out there and he's not going to speak badly about his players. So if you can say till the cows come home that Leonard Floyd and Malik Collins were amazing and we didn't want to get rid of them, but we had to or whatever. The fact is, if they were as great as you expected or wanted them to be, they would still be on the football team. I'm sorry to tell you, like, neither of them had to leave this season because they still had contracts going. They could have stayed. Now, of course, we don't know behind the scenes, or Malik Collins and Leonard Floyd, are they, knocking on the door like, hey, I want a restructured deal or whatever? Like, I don't know. I guess I don't know that kind of stuff. None of us know that. But as far as I'm concerned, I think they could have stayed. The fact that they didn't stay tells me that the 49ers were not, at least not happy with what the ceiling is or where they're going. And that, or the 49ers had a literal number that they had to get to, financially speaking. And basically, like Kyle Shanahan's talked about this in the past with the DeForest Buckner trade, like maybe this is one of those situations where like ownership and coaching staff, front office, they're all in a room and they're like, hey, this is where we need to get to. You can do these 3 guys. You could do those 2 guys. You could do those 10 guys. You figure out how that's going to work, and this is what the 49ers did. I'm not really sure. That's a great question. Obviously, like guys who are not traded, which was the vast majority of the departures from the 49ers, guys who are not traded means that their value to the 49ers was not as great. And so it's not as simple as, well, who do we have good trade value on and things like that. So it was a really interesting one, though, and I think the takeaway for me from this quote here is the idea that they basically just said, our roster is so incredible, which it was. I told you at the beginning of the season, I felt like it was the best roster in the NFL. And if everybody were healthy, it probably was a back-to-back year where the 49ers had a really, really good shot to go all the way. Of course, really tough competition they had to play last season. They ended up having basically, statistically, the hardest schedule when it's all said and done based on win-loss records. So the 49ers had an uphill battle no matter what. But then you add in all the injuries, your key players not being able to play, that does have a huge impact. But I think it's interesting that the 49ers basically, he's admitting right here that they were like, we had such a good roster. We're just doubling down. We're just going for it. However we can keep everybody happy, whoever we have to extend, we're going to go again. And for that to backfire so badly makes this look 10 times worse than it would have had they, made it really deep and then done all of this crazy transition. So let me know what you think in the comments about all of this. I appreciate you guys. As always, this is just a crazy time. We're 35 days until the 2025 NFL draft, which you are not going to want to miss. Please consider subscribing and joining the conversation, being in the comments section. I very much love doing this every day, and so I appreciate you guys coming and watching these videos. It makes it worth my time to do those things. Don't do that off camera.